I think the BBC are hiding behind the distinction between freelancers and full-time staff because it doesn't really make much difference if you work for them.
Interesting.
So that's it, yeah. So Gary Lineker, it looks like, Gary seems to be, I don't think he's coming back. Well, joining me now is social commentator Narinder Kaur. Narinder, talk to me about this. Gary Lineker has, let me just remind people, in a statement the BBC has released this in the last hour, BBC have been in extensive discussions with Gary, and he is now not being pulled off Match of the Day. He's just not presenting Match of the Day for some reason. Narinder, what's your view on all of this?
Well, I'm absolutely outraged, as you can imagine, because I think if there's ever proof that the BBC has been run by this right-wing government, this is it, actually, because smells a bit like 1930s Germany. I think Gary Lineker may have had a point, Nana, because the fact is, Gary Lineker was allowed to say, he's always had political opinions. He's always said stuff, but he's never been pulled off air. Why was he pulled off air this time? Maybe had he agreed with this immigration bill, he may still be presenting tomorrow. This is absolutely outrageous. I'm absolutely disgusted in what's happening in this country. And the fact is, the BBC is bowing down to the government. The government are running the BBC. It's not right. This is not the country I want to live in.
Well, where are you going to go, Narinder? Crikey, you've got loads of work. I wouldn't if I were you. You'll have to do everything down the line.
I think it's outrageous.
You'll have to do it all down the line. Narinder, listen. OK, so, first of all, the comparison with Nazi Germany, a lot of Jewish groups have taken huge offence at that, right? Because, remember, the government's policies are not designed to kill people, whereas if you look at Nazi Germany in the 30s, the policies that happened there were trying to extinguish and exterminate a race of people, a people. This is not what's happening. It diminishes what happened in the Holocaust and what happened in Nazi Germany by using this particular event and this particular policy, which simply is about trying to control a migrant crisis, by comparing it to a Holocaust, Narinder. Can you not see? Can you not see? Can you not see that that is unacceptable?
No, the Holocaust didn't start with gas chambers. It started with vile words. And Gary Lineker didn't say Nazi Germany. He said 1930s Germany. And actually, Nana, I think today...
Well, let's not split hairs, shall we?
I think he's got a point. He's got a point, because the fact is he's been censored. This is censorship. I thought GBNews was about free speech and not cancel culture. We're now having cancel culture.
This is not. Narinder,
platform.
Narinder, I think you're confusing breaching impartiality guidelines when you work for an organisation that is state-owned with free speech. Gary Lineker is entitled to his free speech, and nobody's cancelling Gary Lineker. What is happening to Gary Lineker is because he works for the BBC, who I worked for myself, and was bound by exactly the same rules of impartiality as he is, so I was not able to go out and talk about things, and I lost 2 gigs because of it at the BBC. So I know...
But that wasn't right, Nana.
Sorry, can I finish? We are all bound by the same impartiality rules. So just to step back on your point that it's free speech, it's got nothing to do with free speech. If he wants to have the free speech and wants to say what he likes about politics, simply join another organisation. That's the deal with the BBC. We pay for them.
Not really, because Alan Chuck can say what he likes, can't he? He said about the rail strikers, he said about Mick Lynch, he said plenty of things. Fiona Bruce almost, applauded wife beaters yesterday. So no, they pick and choose, because the government have got power over the BBC here. So they didn't like what Gary Lineker said against the Tory government's immigration bill, and now he's been taken off air. This is cancel culture, and we are living in censorship.
OK, first of all, with regards to Fiona Bruce, I mean, she didn't... That could be your interpretation of it. I don't think she meant it that way, and she's also not here to defend herself. But let's stick to that, and she's probably next. Actually, the BBC will probably be having words with her anyway. And as for the other person who said they let off, they shouldn't be letting people off who are saying things that are breaching the BBC guidelines, and they should be punished.
Well, they did. They did. And therefore, Gary Lineker has been taken off air now because he just gave an opinion on his platform.
No, but that's the point. No,
he didn't say on air, Nana. He didn't
that's
say
irrelevant.
It on Match of the Day.
Listen, Narinder, it's irrelevant. And I know this because I myself had 2 things taken away from me, not for saying something on the BBC, but for saying somewhere else, on air, somewhere else. And I, too, was a freelancer. So I know the guidelines.
Oh, was that correct? Did you think that was correct?
Listen, I accepted it because I accepted I'd breached the guidelines. I accepted it, yeah? I accepted it. And in the end, Narinder, do you know what I did in the end, Narinder? Do you know what I did in the end? Do you know what I did in the end? I left. I joined GBNews, where I could have an opinion. Yeah?
So therefore, the BBC is government-led and it's what the government approved, and therefore it's okay. So when he was criticising Qatar, that was all okay.
No,
that wasn't politically
No, it wasn't
motivated.
acceptable at all. He should never have
So
gotten
he
the state
wasn't
role.
taken off air, Nana.
Well, he should have been. Narinder Kaur, thank you so much. We're running out of time. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Yeah, well, this is a very fast-moving story. In the last few moments, Ian Wright has confirmed that he will not appear on Match of the Day tomorrow. Wright is a regular guest on the programme, but he's tweeted, everybody knows what Match of the Day means to me, but I've told the BBC I won't be doing it tomorrow. Solidarity. Really? Well, they'll replace you as well. A reminder of what started with this whole story. On Tuesday, Gary Lineker responded to a video from Home Secretary Suella Braverman where she outlined the government's illegal migrant bill, saying it was beyond awful. Now, when he was pulled up on his comment, Lineker replied, there is no huge influx. We take far fewer refugees than other major European countries. This is just an immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in language that is not dissimilar to that used by not Germany, sorry, no Nazi Germany, but by Germany in the 30s. And I'm out of order? Well, lots of you have been getting in touch.